thank you everyone for joining. And I could say good day or good evening, depending on where you are. And welcome to Leading in a Time of Crisis. And this is one of a few different webinars that we will be hosting. So let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Neva Helena Alexander, and I'm the CEO of Nevalliance. And Nevalliance is pretty much an educational company that provide knowledge through different blended components, such as the webinar that we're on right now. And in all honesty, it's like our first time doing a webinar because we were so used to doing live events. So if you've known of our conferences, the International Women's Conference, we actually had to postponed, and we're hoping that we're able to do it in September. It's an annual event that we host. We also have training, providing content, personal development, and business development. And you can learn more on the website, which is Nevalliance.com. And there definitely will be a follow-up email. I'd also like to mention that this webinar is also in association with another training company called Samu, and they are a company in Saudi Arabia. Now, as today we have Donna Douglas, Donna M. Douglas, I have to put that M in, right? And Donna Douglas is an accomplished professional with years of administrative experience in human resources, school administration, management, and leadership, right? So she's a true talent of communicating and a deep passion for people. She really, really has a deep passion for people. She's a certified trainer, speaker, and coach. Donna aspires to encourage and motivate others to take action towards realization of their vision, their dreams, and goals. Right? She's an eloquent speaker, and you will hear that today. She knows how to persuade, inspire, and move words that emerge from her character and echoes the motives of her heart, right? Donna is extremely active in the community. She gives a lot of herself. She's been involved with professional memberships, and she's also the president of the Hempstead Chamber of Commerce, and she's a member, the member of Hempstead Chambers of Commerce and president of Toastmaster. All right, and Donna lives by her motto, to thine own self be true. So guys, I want you to welcome today's webinar speaker, Donna Marie Douglas.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you all. Let me first say thank you for taking the time out of the leisure moments that we have in the days in which we're living to join us on this webinar. I'm going to be talking about a subject that is dear to my heart. It's leadership. And you might ask, why leadership? Because you know why? We are all leaders in our own rights. We lead our own lives. If we have a family, we're leading our family. We're leaders on our job. We're leaders when we're with our friends. So at different times, we do play a leadership role. Right now, we're in a crisis. And the question is, how do we lead and how do we become better in this crisis? We could say that the coronavirus took us all by surprise. None of us planned for it. None of us went to bed and say, tomorrow, this is what is going to happen. But it's here, and it's a crisis. And in a crisis, leaders stand out. So today, as we talk, I want to talk about leadership, as I said before. Leadership is influence. It's nothing less, and it's nothing more. That's John Maxwell. So let's talk about crisis here. What is a crisis and what do we do? Crisis is very common in our lives. General, no 2 days in a leader's life are alike. And so what does a crisis do? A crisis can be very distracting. Therefore, as a leader, we must be able to help people to get traction in these times. Crisis also reveals what's inside us as a leader. We cannot moan and lead at the same time. We must take a stand as a leader. People are looking to us and expect us to lead. Crises also require adaptability. What's that? As a leader, we should help others to adjust their way to victory. So as a leader, we stand up, we take our place, and we lead. Another great thing about leaders in a crisis is that leaders stand up. I'm sure most of us has been on a team in some situation and we're given an assignment and a leader just rise out of the group. And living here in New York during this crisis, Governor Cuomo rised like a leader that we have not seen in a while. The crisis came and Governor Cuomo took the reign for New York and he's leading. He speaks with calm, he's very clear, he's very directive, and that's what leaders do. We stand up. We cannot, as leaders, manage ourselves out of a crisis. We must lead ourselves and others out of a crisis. We have not walked the path before, so it's not something that we can manage. It's something that we lead. Crises also reveal the real leaders. Their presence is known. I've watched through this time again, I said Mario Cuomo and the governor from California, and just to see their presence, when they come on the television, there's a presence. I'm here to give directive, and I'm sure of the directives that I'm giving. Not that they have all the answers, but you can rest assured in the calm that they give. I want to share a story with you that happened a few weeks ago. I was talking to a girlfriend, a few days ago to be exact. I was talking to a girlfriend, and her husband came home and he said to her, his daughter is a nurse, right? And she has a young baby. And he said, oh, my daughter has not been home in 3 weeks. And he was flustered. And his wife said, she looked at him and she called him by name and she said, look, dear, she knows that she has a baby to come home to. She will do the right thing to protect herself. And she said immediately she realized that the atmosphere changed. Why did it change? Because she spoke with clarity, she gave the assurance, and she gives hope. And that's what a leader does in a crisis. They give hope. Hope is what we need now more than ever. And leaders do that. So remember, in a crisis, we help people to get traction in moments of distraction. A crisis also bumps us out of our comfort zone into a creative zone. You see, creativity only comes when we take action. When we are moving, creativity comes. So in this crisis, if it's your family, you're going to sit around, you're going to say, this is what we're going to do. You see, without Corona, there are always crises in our lives, and some we can plan for. So it's saying to your family, if there's a fire in the house, this is what we do, giving clear directions so people know exactly what's required of them. In a crisis, there is also no picture for us to create a puzzle from. I love jigsaw puzzles. I just love doing them. And my nieces know that. So every Christmas I'd get a puzzle and I'll spend the night putting that puzzle together. The beauty about a jigsaw puzzle is that you have the picture on the cover of the box that you're working towards. So here's the picture on the box and here are the pieces. You can match the pieces so they come just like the picture on the box. And that's great. But in a crisis, there is no picture for you to put the puzzle to. There is no picture. So what do? You move forward And each step you take, the picture is formed. And leaders do that. Leaders take the step and they move forward so others can see. Leaders keep their head above the waters in a crisis, because if the people around you can't see, then they will truly not know which way to go. So that's what the leaders do in a crisis, and that's what a crisis is. But what do we become in times of crisis as leaders? What is it that we really do? Leaders put people first. We do. In a crisis, you have to think, I have my family. What are we going to do? It's not my way out. It's how will I take my organization through this crisis? How will I take my family through this crisis? How will we come out on the other end? It's putting people first. Leadership, again, I said, it's influence, and we're influencing others. Let's leaders are flexible in a crisis. Why? We don't know where we're going. We have not walked the path before. And so in times of uncertainty, leaders must be flexible. We could say today, we're going to go this path. But once we get there, we realize we need to turn right. We cannot be so fixed in our thoughts that we will not turn right when that's what's required. So flexibility is needed in a time of crisis. Leaders take action. We become creative when we do that. We need to do that. When we think, then we take action. It is said again by John Maxwell that creativity comes when we're taking action, not when we're thinking. So we have spent the time and we have put thought to it and we have processed it. And in order for us to move forward, action is important. Leaders also know how to leverage the team of people they're working with. Kenneth Bland says this: all of us is smarter than one of us. All of us is smarter than one of us. So we leverage our team. We share the ideas, we bounce from each other's thoughts, and then we come up with a decision and we move forward. So leverage your team. Let your team know the plan, because that's really, really important when your team knows the plan. I could tell you the story of Ford. When Ford was going through the crisis that they went through, the CFO, Alan Muttley, he came and he told his team, we are going to make history. And it is essential that you as a leader, you share the plan. He shared the plan. This is what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to move forward to ensure that Ford will succeed in this crisis. And we all know the success of that story. Leaders also use good judgment in a crisis. Good judgment. People need in this time wisdom, and that comes from a leader who makes good judgment. People are looking for authentic leaders. In a crisis, it's essential for the leader to be honest, transparent about the situation. They explain the challenge that we're facing. This is where we are, and this is what is happening to us. Leaders communicate facts. This is what we know at this time. And this is what we don't know. This is where we are as a family. This is where we are as a team. This is where we are as an organization. People need authenticity. There are other members, there are numbers and forecasts that we really need to take a look at if we're going to be honest. And we must confront the reality. We're not hiding behind the fact that the situation exists, but we confront the situation knowing the facts. And we found that if you communicate bad news, it's still better than not communicating at all. So there are times when we have to say what the situation is, and it might be bad. But as leaders, we know how to communicate that and build hope as we do. And a leader also points towards a positive future. John Gordon says, after you tell the truth and communicate the facts, share the optimism and a plan to succeed. People want to know that you're saying we're going to get through this. Together, we're going to get over what is happening. That's what they want to know. They want you to share a vision of what success looks like in the future. Yes, we're here now, but in this situation, we will get through it. We're going to take it step by step as we take our walk. Success looks like this to each team and organization. You put your team down, you put your family down, you talk to yourself, because sometimes we're just leading ourselves, and we need to say, Donna, this is what we're going to do, and this is where we're going, and this is how we're going to get to where we're going. Just when this crisis started, my brother got sick. I got a call, a text, as a family text that he said, pray for me, I'm not doing well. For the last 3 days, I'm not feeling well. The next text we got was, I'm still not feeling better. It seemed to be getting worse. His daughter, who was in medical school, came down because school was closed and she was in the house. The night she called and she said, I'm going to take him to the hospital. She did. They sent him back home. 3 days after, she called one night and she said, Daddy can't breathe. I'm going to have to take action. She put her dad in the car and her mom, and she took them both to the hospital. My brother was put on oxygen right away. His wife was diagnosed, tested right there. Yes, she had the virus. They were both admitted in the hospital. He was in ICU for 7 days. And I watched my niece rise to the challenge like I've never seen a young person just rise. She took the charge and she led her family from home. She was in touch with the doctors. She knew moment by moment what was going on. She just tried her best. And I thought to myself, that's what leaders do. Leaders rise. Leaders stand out. Leaders take charge when the opportunity arises. And I'm sure there are many families around the country and around the world who have taken that opportunity. Leaders were developed and are being developed through this crisis. And we will see the outcome and some of the changes, because I want to assure you that normal will never be what we had before. We can't go back to normal. The world has changed. Our lives have changed. And we need to talk to ourselves. We need to talk to our teams, talk to our families, talk to organizations as we lead and realize what has happened. How am I growing myself in this crisis? What are we doing as leaders that will make us better when this is all over? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Who is coming out with us? Who have we lived in this time? In John Maxwell's book, The 21 Laws of Irrefutable Leadership, John talks about the leadership lead. And he said, it is impossible for us to lift someone higher than ourselves. He said, if your lead is a 7, you cannot lift the people who you're leading to an 8. They can only be a 6, and chances they might get to a 7, because that's your leadership lead. I would advise us during this time, as we lead organizations or family and ourselves, to develop ourselves, to grow ourselves. What are we reading? What are our conversations like? Are we just so bugged by the virus that we're not taking the time to become better people? We ought to become better in this. Are we reaching out in a way that we have never reached out before? We should be doing that. Leaders take charge. And when we do this, it will be an uphill, because life is uphill. We're always going up. We're always going up. You see, we were never given an overcoming life. Never. We were given a life to overcome. We were given a life to overcome the challenges and the situations. Yes, we face the facts. We know the reality of the facts. We cry if we have to, but we realize when we cry, if we live to see another day, we're going to have to get up and we're going to have to become better. Allow adversity to help you to discover who you are. In this crisis, ask yourself the hard questions. Do I really know who I am? Ask yourself and answer. Because when you come out of this, because we have had so much time on our hands, the things we were putting off for a long time that we didn't have time to do, as leaders, now is the time. Are we growing closer to our families? Are we communicating better? Are we growing ourselves? Values show up in difficult times. What is our value system as a leader? Can people trust us? Can they? Can they trust us? In this time, use it wisely, because this crisis was not just given to us to pass time, but we have an opportunity to become better. And in the middle of crisis, Einstein says, lies opportunities. And there's so many opportunities open now like we've never seen before. There are opportunities. Let's take the time as leaders to become better and ensure that our perspective is right. How we view things is how we do things. Change our view. Take time to know ourselves. We're spending a lot of time with ourselves these days. Develop ourselves. Ask the hard questions. Develop some daily habits that will make you better. Read the book as a leader you've been putting off for a while. Ensure you take the time to become better in a crisis. Thank you for your time.